listeners, welcome back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. I want to talk about tips for secular humanist outreach and activism. Been doing this stuff for a long time. I've had people through the years say, David, you need to write some kind of manual, manuscript or book or something to give some information about your experience out there and what you do and how to do it. I'm not a very good writer. I'm too lazy. And I don't want to have my wife, Christine, or poor Mark over here who works so hard to have to edit all my mistakes. So I would much rather just talk it. So that's what I'm going to do. So part one right now, and then we're going to do part two. I'm going to give you some tips. So part one, number one, and this is very important. In fact, they're all very important things I've learned through the years. And by the way, this information I'm giving today on part one and part two coming up is for all secular groups who want to grow. If you want to grow, you got to go. Sounds like the old evangelist to me, right? You got to get out there, spread the word. So this is for any secular humanist, atheist, agnostic, free-thinking group, whatever you identify as. This is for you, some information that I hope will help you wherever you're located, okay? So number one, you got to have this. You've got to have good old school passion for humanity. You got to make sure you have an innate passion for humanity and you want to help others. This is not an activity for selfish ambition. Sorry to come down so hard on you. But to be honest with you, occasionally I'll run into individuals that want to get involved in the atheist movement of activism, secular humanism and all. They want to be the next YouTube star or whatever it may be, but make sure your motives are correct. Make sure you're doing it for the movement. You're doing it with a passion to help others. Because if you want to do this for yourself only, you're in the wrong business. We try to do it for the entire group, right, and for others. So, number one, have a deep passion for others because you care. We want to help others. Number two, you got to believe and know. You must believe that what you have and what your particular group has to offer others, because that's what we're doing. We're offering something to them called secular humanism, is superior to the competition. And let me repeat that. You got to believe. This is good old sales training here. Now, when I quit preaching in 1989, I had to do something for a while for money because I had a wife and two little kids back in the early 90s and late 80s. So I became a sales rep for books and other products. So you got to know that you have to have value and you got to understand that the product you have is superior to your competition. What's our competition? Of course, the Bible, Christianity, religion. We've got something superior to that, ethics and morals and so forth. We have the values of secular humanism. I've already discussed that in past episodes. Many valuable things about secular humanism. And remember this, values, little sales tip, must outweigh the cost. You got to make sure that the value of this that you're promoting and giving information out there outweighs the cost of the actual activity. Okay? Here's an example. In 1990 or 91, I couldn't preach anymore. I quit it at about 89 or 90. Had to do something. A friend of mine who was a former preacher, former Christian like myself, turned agnostic. He was working for a publishing company in Waco where I was living, and they needed more sales reps to promote, yes, Christian books. Oh, can you believe it? I had to sell Christian books there right when I left Christianity and became an atheist. I took the job. He helped me get the job there. For 3 years, I was a book rep. I'm selling Christian books to my bookstore owners and buyers around New Mexico, Texas, and up in the Northeast. I did traveling, and I did phone sales as well. I had to provide new product for these Christian bookstores. It was hard for me. I did okay there. I made a decent income for my two little babies and my wife at the time. I could have been better, but I didn't find value in my product. I couldn't believe this stuff anymore. My friend who turned agnostic, who was a former preacher too, he said, David, you could have promotions in this company if you try harder. I said, dude, I can't sell the stuff anymore. it's not valuable to me. So you got to understand that what we have is valuable and needed by others. We can help others with this beautiful worldview. Number 3, this is imperative. Oh, hell, they're all imperative. This one's very imperative. Be healed up. And I mean it. Be healed up from past hurts, wounds, and pain caused from religion. And be ready to go out and talk to people. Now, I'm very careful in saying this because I've been there and done that. When I go out and talk to people throughout the week and the weekends, I run into lots of people that have just come out of church and religion, Christianity especially, here in America. They're hurt, they're wounded, they're distraught, they're bitter, they're angry, and they want to get involved in activism. You're not quite ready. I went through the pain and agony of that 30 to 40 years ago. I understand, but it takes time to heal up. Now, what I have done through the past few years in my activism, I'll actually have something similar to a job interview. I'll ask these people that want to go out with me to hold up signs and talk to people and pass out literature. I'll ask them to go meet me for coffee or for lunch. You know why? A little secret here. I want to make sure they're ready. If they're not healed up and they're still dropping the F-bombs on Christians and God, and they're angry and they want to yell at people, you're not ready. And I understand your hurts and pains. And I'm going to do an episode on that coming up very shortly, that we can go out and reach these kind of people. They're out there. There's lots of hurt, wounded people out there. They need some good old school human loving, some humanist and atheist loving. They need to come into a group and be healed up. And it's very imperative and important to do that. So number 3, make sure you are healed up before you get out there and talk to people. We don't want someone out there holding up signs for your particular secular group and you want to yell at people. I've seen it. I've seen the anger in some people. It does not represent who we are because we are trying to show most people that are still believers in the supernatural that we're not baby eaters, we're not child killers, and we're not evil, right? We're trying to let them see that we have ethics and morals like they do, and we have a good belief system called secular humanism. Now, let me give you an example, and I close, I'll get to part 2. We all love Christopher Hitchens. Well, Hitchens, most of us do. I've learned a lot from him years ago. And I know he died back in 2010. But this was probably, 15 years ago or so. I was watching a debate between Christopher Hitchens, and wow, he was something, right? He did so much for the movement. I learned so much from him, but there was a few things I kind of disagree with. But I'm so thankful for all of his information out there. He had a debate with, of all people, Al Sharpton. Now, if you're not familiar with Al Sharpton, he's a African-American, nice guy, pastor, preacher, kind of liberal politically, but he's a Christian. And he debated, of all people, Christopher Hitchens. I mean, this is like taking candy from a baby to me, debating Christopher Hitchens, right? And here's this preacher. Now, here's my point. We must represent ourselves and make sure we're healed up and we're not too angry. We want to put a good face on what secular humanism and atheism is to these people that don't know because they don't know. Most of them have never met anybody like us until you get out there. They may see you on YouTube. They may have digital dialogue with you. They may read your blog and articles. But when they see you in person, it's different. And I still believe it is a little more effective and persuasive when you're out there in person. So Hitchens was debating Al Sharpton. I believe it was in a church because by the response of the audience, they were applauding the pastor more than Christopher Hitchens. So I'm thinking 95% probably Christian. So someone made a snide remark to Christopher Hitchens from the crowd. It set him off, and he started dropping the F-bomb to the crowd. He did the old finger. I use this finger. I don't want to offend anybody. To the crowd. As soon as he did that, and he started cursing at the crowd, I'm like, no. What an opportunity to show them what we're really like. Now, Al Sharpton took advantage of this. This pastor turned to Christopher Hitchens on his right, pointed at him, looked out at the audience of Christians, who by then were laughing, and looked at Hitch the brilliant Hitch, who just lost his cool, which he did often. Well, I have too. We all have. Pointed at Hitch and said, see, this is what atheism produces. This is what it produces. Anger, bitterness, nihilism, the whole works that most of them say about us. Now, if I had an opportunity there, I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, but it would have been a great opportunity for Hitch or someone else to just smile and say, no, I got something to offer you guys. We have shared ethics and values, just being human, but I got something that's above and beyond this. And you don't have to come across as angry. My point is, make sure you have dealt with your anger, your bitterness, your hatred, because I run into a lot of people out there that are ready to get out there and give it to those Christians that doesn't promote and benefit the cause. It causes harm. It's detrimental. I want to see more and more people that are so far above and beyond these things called religion, the Bible, and Christianity and Islam, that they're so far above it. They've advanced, they put aside childish things, and they want to reach out to help others to come out. And they're out there, folks. I wish I could talk you into this. I wish I could take you out there with me. And how many people I run into that are looking for communities, that are looking and they're hurt and wounded. They can't believe that stuff anymore. We have places for them, but we've got to show them it's a better way. So this has been part one for my tips on secular humanism. So remember, let the light of secular humanism shine. So stay tuned for part two of tips for activism. Have a wonderful day.